Hi everyone, it's LadyJenevia. Today's video is going to be a spoiler-free review of episode 7, which is the next episode that will be airing next week. If you would like to see a spoiler review of episode 6, which is the most recent episode to premiere, I have already posted that. It is my most recent upload before this one, and I will also put a link to a playlist of all the videos I've done about defending Jacob in the pinned comment of this video. Also, I got what I would describe as an annoying amount of comments on my last spoiler-free review, which was about episode 6, which I posted last week, asking why I am able to watch the episodes before they've aired, as if I haven't already been posting reviews for several weeks now, but that's fine. I have an Apple TV Press account. Press are given access to episodes early, before they premiere to the public, in order for them to make reviews or write reviews of them, depending on the format. Obviously, I think a lot of publicists would love it if press were very kind to whatever projects they are assigned to. However, I am not someone who is going to just say nice things about a show just because I'm being given access to it or just because I'm making a review of it. If you don't believe me, I recently posted a video essay on the BBC One drama Gold Digger. I didn't have early access to that, and that show aired several months ago, but the point is I was not complimentary in that review because that show was terrible. Anyway, on to today's review/preview of episode 7. Episode 6 left off with the Barber family in the car, driving to the courthouse, being hounded by press because it is time for Jacob's trial, because Andy failed to stop it. Maybe you should have stopped lying and gone to therapy and stopped being in denial about everything if you didn't want to be in this situation. But hindsight is 2020. I didn't mention this in my last review, but I have to say I really liked the scoring that they used when that particular sequence was happening. They had this organ playing that sounded a bit like a church hymn, almost like they're going to a funeral. It sounds a lot like He's a Dead Man Walking. Electric chair. I've had people writing to me on YouTube and also on Twitter for weeks now, asking me whether or not I believe that Jacob Barber is guilty of the crime that he is being accused of. My response to that question has always been the same. I have consistently said that I had an opinion on that matter, but I was not able to share it because that opinion was cemented by something that happens in an episode that has not aired yet. Well, I don't know if I'm happy to report this, but I can share my opinion was cemented by episode 7. I'm still not going to tell you what my opinion is, but I can say that we will discuss this in my spoiler review of episode 7, which I will post next week after the episode has premiered on Apple TV. So if you're curious about whether or not we agree on the matter, then you'll have to tune in then and see what I have to say. I know that it's a weird time right now. There are a lot of people that are staying at home a lot more than they usually would, and then there are also other people that are out and working more than ever before. If you are one of the people that is staying at home with a lot more free time to binge watch content than usual, then I would recommend that you go back and rewatch the episodes that have already premiered, 1 through 6, because it really gives you a better understanding of who these characters are, where they are mentally going into the trial, and there are also some other details from previous episodes that become more apparent or relevant now. There's something Pam says in one of the episodes that's already aired that comes up again in episode 7 with more context. I'm not going to say which episode it was or what it was that she said, you know, on the off chance that there's an Apple TV publicist with nothing else to do but go look through my review to make sure that I'm not leaking anything. This way they cannot get mad at me for saying something that according to them is too specific. There is also a similarity between Jacob and Andy that I have mentioned before in one of my past reviews that you're going to see again in this episode. I'm also quite curious to hear from the people who've read the book because, as I've said before in some of my other reviews, I have not read the book and I did not read the book before watching all the episodes, but I did Google the synopsis of the book after I had finished watching all 8 episodes to try to get a general impression of how they compare or contrast with one another. I've seen little tidbits of information floating around where people are noting some differences in some of the details. Some are fairly inconsequential, but some seem a little bit more noteworthy. Like, I had someone comment on one of my reviews recently saying that in the book, Andy does not slash Derek's mom's tire, but instead he breaks into their family home. Yikes. The reason that I'm bringing up comparisons between the book and the show is that I'm curious as to whether or not there is any more information given in the book about Neil and Andy's relationship, because as we've seen on the show, it's very antagonistic, and that has not lessened as we've grown closer to the date of the trial. As a matter of fact, in many ways, this trial is the culmination of that hostility that they have between them. What I'm curious about in regards to the book is whether or not they gave any more context as to why they don't get along, if they had some sort of falling out, if their relationship was always hostile, or if something went wrong, or if it's just one of those relationships where they don't get along, they've never gotten along, and it's only gotten worse because of the drama that is happening in this particular story. The thing about having an episode that is putting so much emphasis on a trial playing out is that there's more of a slow burn quality to the drama that's building over the episode than some of the other episodes that have aired already. There's a real ebb and flow to the drama, which is a stark contrast to something like episode 6. I really hyped up episode 6 before it came out because I am well aware of the fact that a lot of the people that are watching my Defending Jacob reviews are Chris Evans stans, so one of the main interests that they have in the show is whether or not Chris Evans is going to be out and about in these streets serving drama and action and memorable incidents in his character arc. And a lot of those happen in episode 6, so I knew beforehand that that would probably be a fan favorite if we're specifically talking about people being interested in what Chris Evans is doing as a performer. Episode 7 is still a great episode. There's compelling drama to be seen, but not a lot of that is coming from Andy Barber specifically as a character, because on the one hand, you've got Neil acting as the prosecutor on the case, and then on the other hand, you've got Joanna, who is acting as the defense lawyer for Jacob. They are the ones who are doing more of the talking in this episode, and they are also the ones that are driving a lot of the story. Essentially, what's happening is you are seeing a game of chess playing out. So if you're hopefully familiar with chess so that this analogy works, there are certain moves in chess that are not going to be particularly exciting to watch. When you first get started, you've got to just move some pawns, presumably. That's what most people do first. But then you'll also have really exciting moments where a piece gets knocked off the board. A lot of viewers by now have gotten really attached to various members of the Barber family, but now everything is out of their hands. Cherry Jones and Pablo Schreiber, they are the ones that carry the episode, and both of them do really well. Obviously, the respective energies they bring are very different from one another, but that's because their characters are very different from one another. I still feel a little bit bad for Pablo because I feel like he keeps getting typecast as these really unlikable characters, and I don't know anything about him as a person, but I'm just guessing that he's probably a much nicer person than these characters that he keeps playing. I don't know if there's all that much that I can tease for fun about thirsty tidbits regarding Andy Barber as a character, because like I said, most of the episode is being led by Joanna and Neil. However, since we all know that Andy and Neil really don't like each other, if you would like to see Andy doing his best mean mug, because he really doesn't like Neil, and every time he looks at him, he's very unhappy to see him. I guess that's something to look forward to if you're just trying to take screenshots of Andy Barber looking really annoyed and angry. He just keeps looking at him like, yeah, just so you know, I don't like you. Period. I really like the way that they incorporate coverage in this episode. So even when you have Joanna and Neil doing most of the talking in this episode, when they cut to other characters that are sitting in the courtroom, when things are getting particularly dramatic and you cut to Laurie's face, it's just really exemplifying the power of great acting and great filmmaking, because not only is Michelle Dockery a brilliant actress, there's so much subtext to what's going on. If this were something that you are watching play out by reading a book, it would be very different because it's the author's responsibility to describe people and their expressions, whereas in this case, all you have to do is look at Michelle Dockery's face to try to get a sense of what Laurie is thinking and feeling as she's processing what's happening and what is being said in that courtroom. Because it's a visual art form, you as the viewer have to interpret that yourself, and I just really like that. I know that this review is extremely short, particularly in comparison to the other spoiler-free reviews that I've started doing over the last couple weeks, but there's just really not a lot of incidents to tease at in the same way because of the nature of the story that is being told within just this one episode and the fact that it's focusing so much on the trial. There's no way to tease at it in the way that you can tease dramatic incidents that have happened in other episodes. The only things that you can tease at are huge plot spoilers that for the people that have not read the book or not Googled the synopsis before watching the episode, I don't want to give it away and I don't want to get in trouble. By the way, just so we're very clear, my stance on the whole aspect of spoilers versus no spoilers is that if you have not already read the book, I don't think you should be looking anything up beforehand, because I really enjoyed experiencing the drama and mystery of the story without having any idea of what had happened in the book before I watched it for the first time. If you have read the book, let me know in the comments what sort of alterations they've been making. I'm very curious as to whether or not all of the changes that I've seen are just surface level things, little details, names, things like that, that don't really impact the overall dramatic narrative of the story, or if in fact there are more fundamental things that have been changed. I for one was fascinated by the fact that they made that change to Andy not breaking into Derek's family's house. I'm still just flabbergasted that that's a thing that happened in the book. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like because it really helps out my channel. And while you're at it, if you haven't already, go ahead and check out some of my other video essays. Most recently, I posted one on the BBC One drama Gold Digger, which was a terrible show. It was so bad. I cannot believe that the BBC signed off on airing that. Not only did they air it, they put it on BBC One. It wasn't like you could make the excuse of, oh, well, they knew that it wasn't very good, so they tossed it to one of the other BBC networks, BBC Two or BBC Three. And I'm not knocking either of those networks either. There are plenty of great scripted series that have aired on those networks, so that is not an excuse. Wow, what an insult to all the UK residents who contribute to the BBC's funding. That's what they got in return. My next big video essay project is going to be on a film that I love, and guess who one of the actors in that is? Chris Evans. Yes, that's right, folks. You're going to finally see me do some more proper scripted content with better editing, I would argue. I still don't know yet when I'm going to post that. It will probably take me at least a few weeks, but I will certainly do my best. You can also follow me on social media on platforms including Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Vero. Also, if you haven't already, please let me know in the comments here on YouTube whether or not you still want me to make an attempt to post a preview of episode 7 using memes, because it'll be a real struggle. I might have to go look for some new memes because I'm not entirely happy with the ones that I have to try to make fit in an entertaining way to preview episode 7, but if it's something that people are really attached to, then I am more than willing to make that effort. Okay, that's it for now. See you in the next one. Bye.